Two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cult Classics Podcast. Cameron Jones here with my co-host,
Mark Nussle.
Jordan Jones.
We're keeping it in the 90s
you
for you.
Fucking ready to rumble or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
is.
That's going to actually probably sound like shit. Peak real bad.
I did watch a montage of old rock wrestling today. I'm getting off topic. But kind of in that decade, though, it's the 1993 film, Mrs. Doubtfire. Troubled that he has little access to his children, divorced Daniel Hillard hatches an elaborate plan. With the help of his creative brother Frank, he dresses as an older British woman and convinces his ex-wife Miranda to hire him as a nanny. Mrs. Doubtfire wins over the children and helps Daniel become a better parent. But when both Daniel and his nanny persona must meet different parties at the same restaurant, his secret may be exposed.
From the guy who brought you Home Alone 1 and 2, and Harry Potter 1 and 2.
And the guy that was going to bring you Mrs. Doubtfire 1 and 2 never came, but I heard there was talks. Heard there was lots of talks through the years.
Starring Robin Williams, Sally Field, Pierce Brosnan, Harvey Fierstein, Matthew Lawrence.
So Mrs. Doubtfire, does it touch on maybe some things that have aged bad now? Yes, but at the time they were also leaning in and kind of trying to be progressive. So there's that.
Mrs. Doubtfire, the heartwarming stories of what one man will do to get his family back.
If he just would have put all of the energy into getting a job and cleaning his apartment, he wouldn't have had to do anything. Hello! Mrs. Doubtfire.
All right, cast and crew. This one is directed by Chris Columbus. As we mentioned in the trailer, he also directed Home Alone 1 and 2 and Harry Potter 1 and 2. And
He's popped up a lot recently on the podcast.
He's done a little more producing. Also worked with Robin Williams and Bicentennial Man and did the live version of Rent.
I mean, Christopher Columbus is a major director. You should likely know who he is, but if not, go back and see our other works in his other films.
Check out our episodes on Night at the Museum, and that's it. That's all we've done, right?
It says he's set to produce Gremlins 3 in 2023. So
I did hear a rumor of that, but I haven't seen anything.
That's
yet.
a movie nobody asked for. But if they keep it to animatronics and don't CGI some shit, well,
maybe.
So this the music is composed by Howard Shore. He's done a shit ton of things. Like I'm gonna list a couple things off just right around Miss Doubtfire. 7, That Thing You Do, Dogma, High Fidelity. So he's done a handful of things.
Nice.
Big, it looks like. And then onto the cast, starring Robin Williams. We've done a handful of his movies already. Night at the Museum. Didn't we do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jumanji, Hook.
I mean, you obviously once again know who Robin Williams is, major star. We won't
Flubber
touch on him
coming
too much
up
now.
in the
The more we do this,
someday for you, bud.
he absolutely murdered like 1990 to 98, but he doesn't get the same respect's the wrong word, but if you think about big stars in the 90s, his name's not necessarily one that comes up. It's like your Tom Hanks, your Denzel Washingtons, because they were making Oscars, but he had nothing but hits.
That's
towards
true.
the end of his career, he kind of like you're saying, it wasn't as prestigious as his like 90s, early 2000s career.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say it here, right? Because I'll forget about it later on. But a lot of people, actors, it seems like, I've got kids now. I want to try to make some family-friendly movies that they can watch.
Adam Sandler, Hotel Transylvania, or Grown Ups.
Sure, there's tons of them, and they're normally just they're not good,
right?
And the quality's just gimmicky. His are good. They might be the best part of his career. His family-friendly ones.
Didn't he do? Or am I just thinking Night at the Museum? Wasn't he a president or something? I'm probably just thinking Night at the Museum.
He has a Night at the Museum.
Yeah, but more like Jack and just like in that hard-hitting, family-friendly kind of like category. You're right.
And obviously he does like dramatic, heartwarming things like...
Well, then the Dead Poets, then your Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Like a little hard-hitting, not family-friendly.
And then he just does crazy, dramatic, huge misses.
Like that 1 hour photo. Or...
Yeah, all kinds of RV. There's misses. But I'm just saying, for anybody that like makes family-friendly films and they didn't start out that way, his are, I think, the best example of that.
Sally Field plays Miranda.
Check out Steel Magnolias. Check out a bunch of other shit.
Forrest Gump. She's the mom.
Has she popped up before in the podcast? I don't think so.
No.
We've recasted her a lot as the mom, but I don't. First time.
Sassy and Homeward Bound.
Sure is.
Recognizable voice. Pierce Brosnan plays Stu. What do you? Fuck you.
No, I'm just thinking like, yeah, I can picture her voice.
I believe
James
Mark's
Bond.
James Bond, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there it is.
I'm so late to the game. He should be my James Bond, but it's actually just in reality, it's Daniel Craig. But my James Bond should as well be Pierce Brosnan, but it wasn't.
Mine's Sean Connery because I like him real handsy.
A couple exclamation point movies I know: Mamma Mia and Mars Attacks. Both with exclamation points.
Dante's Peak, I don't know if it has one, but toss it in there because it is an exclamation point movie.
I almost watched Dante's Peak like 4 times yesterday because I was scrolling by and it popped up under adventure, actually, like 3 different categories. I'm like, I guess that's my answer.
This one I forgot. The World's End. I forget.
He's the professor in that. That's because that movie's never streaming and it's hard to find because it was forgotten. That's why.
But on that note, go back and listen to our Cornetto series. It's way early in this podcast. It's probably not as good, and we did.
I'm sure the quality's not as good. And there's extra fun categories that we don't do anymore. So there's that, and you'll hear us quote the movie a bunch.
If you're like, why don't they have an hour and a half to an hour and 45-minute movie podcast? We did for a while. Go check it out.
This one's shaping up to be that.
Sorry.
Harvey Fierstein plays Frank. Go see Independence Day. Our
David.
Podcast.
He is one of 2 people I can do impressions of. 3 people. And they have a similar thing. It's him, R.I.P. Gilbert Godfrey, and then also Andy Dick. Those are the 3 people I can legitimately do impressions of.
Polly Holliday plays Gloria. She's the neighbor. She's the neighbor at the beginning. I don't really know why I'm even bringing her up, but she's in Gremlin. She's Mrs. Deagle.
Oh, right.
Deagle.
Oh, there's
Also
an unverified
Stick-
to her later that we'll get to, though. So
Yeah. Go back and listen to our Gremlins episode.
On to the kids. Lydia is played by Lisa Jacob. Independence Day.
anything. Oh, that's it. I was about to say she's super familiar in something.
Yeah, but that's it, right?
Yeah, that's all I really could see. One of the Lawrence brothers is in this. Matthew Lawrence plays Chris.
He's the middle.
Yeah, I kind he was the one on Boy Meets World, but I can't think of a lot of his stuff really.
Well, brotherly love with all 3, jumping ship with all 3.
Well, yeah, it's like I could kind of think of his work with all 3.
Yeah, that's what he's best known for. And then Maura Wilson plays Natalie, the small one. This is her first role, but she's Matilda on 34th Street. And a sneaky little Martin Mull. He's in there for a second. He plays Colonel Mustard in Clue, and he's the DJ in Jingle All the Way. But he's
really briefly, and
yeah.
Pretty concise cast, but a couple of repeats we've had before.
Yeah.
Should we move it on to Unverified?
Let's do it.
Welcome to Unverified and Cult Classics Movie Phone. It's November 22nd, 1993, and currently in theaters, you could have seen We're Back, a dinosaur story. You guys remember that animated one where they turn mean and stuff and they turn nice?
Wait,
I don't.
I thought I'd say the one that's just called Dinosaurs.
We're Back.
There's like 2 dinosaurs.
Story. Oh, it might be in something else. We'll never know. Adam's Family Values.
3 number 2 or 1?
I couldn't remember. I think it's 2 because I think the first one's just Adam's Family, right? The Three Musketeers, the good Disney one with Chris O'Donnell and Kiefer Sutherland, and the dope ass song by Sting.
You take, I'll be your man,
that's the song, all right. And Look Who's Talking Now, the sequel to Look Who's Talking. But you chose to see Mrs. Doubtfire. What do you guys got for facts?
I'm gonna go right off the movie phone. A lot of you chose Mrs. Doubtfire. It was the number 2 grossing movie of 1993, only behind Jurassic Park. Isn't that absurd?
Yeah, I did think so as well. I feel like we've also done a lot of movies from 93.
It's a big year, but it made like $220 million at the box office, just behind whatever Jurassic Park made. Can you imagine how different the budgets were in those films? Holy shit. And number 3, I remember The Fugitive was number 3. So,
cool.
93, a weird year.
If you didn't know, this movie is actually based on a British novel by author Anne Fine. She walked by a bric-a-brac shop called Madame Doubtfire's, and that's where she got the name, and she took it from there.
I knew that because when I'm like, oh, should we do Mrs. Doubtfire? Mark was like, the book's better, I'm like, oh, yeah? He's always bringing up the Mrs. Doubtfire books. Like, it's just more in depth. You just get a lot more into the...
Oh, they always are.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of stuff here, but there's a lot of cool, like, Robin Williams, obviously, improvisational stuff. Some scenes were shot 15 to 22 times because Robin Williams just wasn't satisfied with how he had laid it out. According to Chris Columbus, Robin Williams improvised so much that there was a PG, PG-13, and R edits of the film, though it was intended to be PG-13.
I saw some brief, just for a second, I clicked on an edited, or what do they call it when they take out a scene?
Just like
Deleted
TV edit
scene.
or like...
Sorry, a deleted scene, yeah. I'm out of the DVD game so recently. Jesus, what do they do? Anyway, it was a lot darker and more adult. They could have made like a Kramer versus Kramer type movie out of what I saw from that. I'm like, whoa, the divorce is real.
Well, Unverified on top of it, the original script actually had a lot heavier scenes in it, and it was going to be more of a dramedy than just a comedy, but I think it still is pretty heavy for a divorced kids movie, but we'll get into that in the next topic.
Kind of going on with that, the producers fired the original screenwriter because of an unhappy ending where the parents did not get back together. After several rewrites with the different happy ending, they realized that the original ending was in fact better because they didn't want the parent, they didn't want to create an illusion of,
just a fairy
divorced
tale.
Parents. Yeah, like that's gonna happen if your dad
How pissed is that
cross-dresses.
writer after he got fired and like, those son of a bitches used my idea?
I think they rehired
they got
him
the same
to
guy
rework
back.
it.
Oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, but
you
he's
son of a
still
bitch.
probably like, you fucking know.
Picture it as like Wayne's World. All right, let's do the mega happy ending now. That's probably what the rewrite was.
True. Robin Williams decided to test out the believability of the Mrs. Doubtfire outfit by going into a sex shop, and it was rumored that he bought a variety of different type of dildos as Mrs. Doubtfire.
So that was like his test to be like, oh, they won't, if they don't notice me, my character's good enough.
Yep.
What they're not telling you is he left and like, guys, did you see that was totally Robin Williams. I don't know what
He
he's
bought
doing.
so many dildos. What is he going to do?
$1,000 worth of dildos.
Why was he
Been
dressed
here
up like a
every
woman?
That's
Here's a weird one I saw, and it won't add to the movie, but I saw it, so I'm going to say it. Do you notice Miss Doubtfire says dear a lot to people?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dear. It says 101 times in the movie.
Oh, I did have that written down. If you want to play a crazy drinking game and get shit-faced, 101 times of, oh, dear.
holy shit, 101
times. That's
Right?
absurd. I mean,
101
Let's say it,
dearmations.
And everybody chugs on the hello.
going on to the infamous hello scene that when he's wearing the mask as a sister. That was completely improvised. One of the many improvised parts of Robin
Such
Williams'
a classic
performance.
scene.
The lights were too hot, and his face mask was actually melting, so they just used it.
Also Unverified, originally they used butter for that, but I forget
Avocado.
exactly. Oh, was it that? But the quote was something like, it looked like a corpse.
Yeah, it looked like a monster or some shit. The address she says when she's on the phone, like talking to Miss Doubtfire, is the actual address of the house. My mom actually was in San Francisco for work and visited the place. So
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
that is verified.
So just kind of going back onto Robin Williams' improvisation, Chris Columbus just working off that. He would use 2 to 3 cameras in place of when he would usually use
great.
one, just to make sure he could get all the angles, because he wasn't sure how far off the mark he would go and if he would just wander around the set. So they just had a bunch of different cameras set up to get different shots, but they ended up using a lot of that footage, and it gave him a lot of different just kind of looks and feels and options in the editing room, which is kind of cool.
That's obviously a bigger deal back in the day when you used to shoot things on film. But in this day and age, when you shoot everything digitally, why wouldn't you just do that to get coverage and save time anyway?
I mean,
Cameron, when we were in the
it is
studio,
the expensive film and stuff is your answer for that.
Yeah,
but,
back then, but this made it,
Even when we're in the studio, Cameron, even if we don't think it's a take, they'll be recording, and then it's like, oh, that was actually pretty good. They're like, well, I got it, so
Well, it's there. It's there, which is always great.
We'll use it. Yeah,
the makeup artist for this film is Vay Neal, and she won an Oscar for best.
I should have mentioned
in
that in the casting
1994.
crew.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
slip
it's
up
a
on
trickle
me.
down. I mean, she's done a lot of stuff. She did Mrs. Doubtfire, Edward Scissorhands. Go back. I mean, she's a monster hit. But
And just on top of that, the makeup each day took 4.5 hours, and it was not a one-piece mask like the movie would make you believe. I think it said it was 8 different prosthetic pieces that had to be glued
I was going to
on.
say, it didn't seem like it would be a mask, just kind of looking at it.
I mean, we're obviously going to talk about that unless we want to just talk about it now.
It would look scary, but we'll get to it in a second.
Okay. And if we don't, we apologize for teasing.
That's
would
actually
never
the
get
last
back to it.
fact I wrote down. There are so many, but I
There's
just had
so
to
much
give up
stuff.
at a certain point.
The prosthetic when he throws it out the window onto the street took 50 takes.
That's just because
getting
Robin
it to land
Williams-
upright, I'm guessing.
No, he kept improvising his lines. We don't really need that much for... No, I'm just joking. I think it's just they wanted it to look right. I love those 2 chubby kids neighbors.
I mean-
they really steal that scene for me, though.
Yeah.
This one does have a million facts on it, though, so let us know under the movie poster for this, and we're going to move on to questions.
Comments.
Animosities.
Questions, comments, animosity.
Questions, comments, animosities. This first one's just a little petty one, but Robin Williams at the beginning walking out of the movie, I don't think I have high enough morals or standards to walk out of a job for something as small as just that smoking thing. I don't know what it would take to push me to just walk out. I need the money.
No, I actually jotted down that one of the things that aged the weirdest in here, and I was expecting a lot to do with like cross-dressing or dressing up as a woman. It turns out it was just smoking in cartoons. That's really, I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. I actually see.
Just like smoking in general, the smoking section of the restaurant.
Yeah, all that. But if you think about it, I see movies where they're like, like TVMA, strong sexual language, and somebody's going to be smoking. Get ready for those two things. I'm like, oh, I guess we warned for that now.
But just to comment off that, and in animosity, that studio would be a smoky nightmare. Like that engineering room with no windows and 3 guys chain smoking in there.
So you're not quitting because of your moral high ground. You're quitting because you're just.
I'm not quitting, Mark. I need the job.
That's what I said. I'm not quitting over moral high ground.
I guess to put myself in the situation, my quitting's happening before a shift. If I made it, I still got that job for the day.
I kind of agree with you.
It's not gonna happen mid shift. It's either gonna be before.
I took
or
the
at the
bus
end.
40 minutes to get here. I'm here.
Just on sort of that scene. I just like that it's not like an animated film, but you still get a lot of that like voice acting peek behind the curtain. Like he's such a talented voice actor. He's just a talented dude. Like
I like that it set it up to give him a little character work there and just
Dun, 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 dun,
the next scene, animosity. His son is too old for that petting zoo. He seems to be like, what, 10, 11, 12, something like that.
I would
his
say
son's
he's
too old
almost
for a lot of his friends.
Yeah.
And just in general, that entire party, he got fired and like set that up. Like how did he get that all arranged in 93? How did he
Was
find
it gonna
that?
be
Especially with the Coke issue, you know?
hey, it's not an issue anymore. He's over it. It's not manifested in any other ways, you know? No, the question is, was that pre-planned, the party?
No, because
He just threw it together.
Yeah, because I mean, he was supposed to be at work that whole time, and then Sally Field comes back and's like, "I have this cake." He's supposed to be grounded, not supposed to get a party. If you remember, his kind of the impetus for their fight, and
I think
farm animals pretty easy to get in San Fran.
pretty illegal. Does not meet the code, though. We found out.
Yeah, found out that. Yeah.
Oh, this is also just kind of a trickle down from Unverified, but that nosy neighbor who calls in, she actually had a much bigger part in the film, and they did film scenes where she was gonna she was spying on both of them having relationships. Daniel, Robin Williams' character, was actually supposed to have a love interest, and they did shoot it, but they thought it just took away from the family plot, and it was just too much. So there were scenes with the neighbor being like, and Daniel's been with a man, and creating conflict between the two, or with a woman, sorry.
Just the bad marriage was conflict enough, I think.
Yeah. And
Megs and I talked about that.
But for a 90s kids movie, in the fights in it are very, I don't know, they're pretty heavy for a kids movie.
Well, it's funny. I remember this through the frame of being a kid and just rooting 100% for Robin Williams' character, Mrs. Doubtfire. 100% him. Sally Fields she's like a naggy wife. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now you're like, oh, maybe she's got some points. Still a little naggy.
Yeah, of course
Still a little naggy.
Well, it's funny watching this movie. She's 100% in the right, but she's so drastic with taking the visitation, visits away.
Immediately.
From the beginning that it makes her such a hateable character. Even though he does have a ton of flaws, he could have gotten a job instead of creating a crazy different persona, cleaned his apartment. There are very sensible things he could have done. But
do you want to know the saddest thing that I realized in this movie, watching it as an adult, and then we'll go back to talking about funny stuff, that he just had 3 small fixes away from having a happy life. And it was just that. It was just making his kids do their homework, cleaning up, cooking, and just going to a job.
100%. But this movie does make Sally Field to be so hateable, but it is because she's so just ridiculous with the visitation from the start.
From the jump, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she'd be that ridiculous, especially he's not a danger. It doesn't seem like it would have started there. It just seems like he would have had.
It doesn't ramp up to a big issue. Yeah. It's like the party happened, and then she's like, the kids you can't see the kids.
Yeah, it just seems like it'd be your typical weekend kind of vibe or every other thing, the usual.
I can tell you my rewrite is he definitely doesn't get to see his kids at the end of the movie. Not after all this happens. We're not going to be we need you back. Like, and we can get to that whenever we get to that, but yeah.
I don't remember all the the shits and goddams and bastards and middle fingers in the movie.
Yeah, it's on
the rewatch.
90s, the ratings. We've talked about this before, but when did the rating setting really kick in?
Well, like the 80s was when the PG-13 happened, so maybe it's gotten looser. I don't know.
Even little Matilda says goddamn.
That I remember. They're my goddamn kids too. God, I hate that kid.
We will get to how he's ruining these kids. So animosity, like again with him just not being a planner and not thinking things through, and Sally Field having some valid points. Like when Robin Williams is calling in for all these jobs, like it seems like he had no plan for when he called in as the proper voice, because he has that look of what am I gonna do? So he spent hours making crazy phone calls to his ex-wife before he went crazy and was like, well, I have to go in as a disguise. But there's no planning.
Look
Double
around.
animosity about the call. Second prank call. Daniel,
Daniel,
it's you.
Daniel, I know you're good
I know
at
you
voice.
do those voices.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've
know
heard
you
that
pretty
one.
well.
Well, actually, that was a knock against her. Most of us would remember our spouses' annoying voices, but they were pretty. There was a fault already drawn. Like they hadn't been listening to each other for years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do it right now. Look around and see 4 words in your house. Try to come up with a name. I've got year guard. I've got year guard. I'm doing it right now. It's not that easy.
Carmel, New Orleans. That's my name.
What's
I'm
my
Carmel,
name?
New Orleans. I also
Raz
strip.
Cranberry, LaCroix. Like, I don't know. That worked out too bad. I think that's the
bad
most
at all.
unbelievable thing.
Also, animosity when her kids are meeting Mrs. Doubtfire. They are way rude and like honest. Like, you look like a man. You're huge, and like just right. Blank.
Cameron,
That's Dad's nose.
In their defense,
they have a bad father.
Horrible parents. An absent mom and an even more absent but present father.
Sure.
And they just got divorced, at least on the son's birthday. He's like, they got divorced on my birthday.
Yeah, it's
Lydia
pretty
has
rough.
no excuse except just territorial stuff.
Jordan, what did that paper say? Police doubt fire?
Yeah,
How can you doubt fire?
Police.
Can you doubt a fire?
It was something like police.
Well,
police
they
doubt
should've-
man started. It was something like that. Doubt fire started from.
Oh, okay. I was just like, how could you even?
The news reporter
happened.
should have asked the firefighters, though. They shouldn't have been asking the police at all. It's like, what do we know about fires?
We're doubtful.
Now, I'm going to say something a little controversial here, but animosity, all the work he did, like doing all the calls and stuff, doing the makeup, showing up, it would have been easier for him just to kill his wife and run with the kids. Not saying he should have done it, but that's the clear or crazy option to me.
I don't think anybody was pro murder. I thought everybody's like, just get a job would probably be the easier thing.
I'm just saying
3
there are
steps away.
easier, crazier things to do than 4 hours of makeup a day to go in as Eugenia Doubtfire while holding down a job while like doing so many other things.
Okay, that's this. Okay, yeah, murdering her probably would have been my second thought. I agree, Mark. You're with that. Just kill the wife.
I'm on it. I'm pro murder.
Because again, and this
The
is
visitation, it's really
this is just what they're showing me. But she is a nag. And you should kill her for that, right? That's what I would do.
It's exactly
it's
right.
like, come on. It's just we got ponies, we got cake. She's a little naggy, right?
This is satirical classics. Is not.
This is satire.
does
We
not
don't mean it, but
invoke any violence.
Oh, I mean it.
oh no, I mean she is a nag, but I think that he's in the wrong now as an adult. But as a kid, I'm like, could you get off his back? He just wants to have a birthday party. And Cameron, you went to murder, right?
Sure did. Also, just animosity. The kids quickly fall in love with Mrs. Doubtfire, but she's the worst. She took together our only family time where we get together to watch the Andy Griffith show after our family's divorce, and she
That's
took
the point.
what our
Dick Van Dyke.
Well, sorry, whatever. But she takes what I assume is a more expensive remote in 1993 and throws it in the fish tank. Like, that's an important bonding time where we're still like creating a family unit, even though our parents are leaving.
That's the point.
Bad call.
It
But,
wasn't
like,
even tough love. The family came together with what I believe I jotted down was $140 ordered meal. That's half of his salary for them.
Yeah, I know. I have like.
It didn't take him a long time to say we miss Dad, though, to argue your point.
Yeah, because he was a yes man, and their mom is the no man. I mean, just like, yeah, because they want to have fun again. And then Mrs. Doubtfire comes in, ruins the one thing we have together after school, and now all we do is chores and homework. It's terrible. I'm not running outside afterwards to hug her being like, hey, sorry I was being mean. You're pretty cool. I'm like, hey, you're tearing apart the one thing we have left.
Cameron,
the Andy
again,
Griffith show.
It's a Dick Van Dyke Show. I think we already said that. If you could just play along with us. No, but think about this. This is why people that come from broken homes, and this goes back. Go back and listen to any of our Urban Hermits if you're out there listening. Love our banter. Hagar takes on movie. People are looking to join cults, to do like a Playboy centerfold. Like a broken home creates problems, Cameron.
Sure, but I think this is a lot coming from you having a weird thing with Colts right now. I will say this, though. Comment plus to Robin Williams for not having like the Food Network. The fact that he learns to cook like from... I don't know what he was watching, but like pretty impressive without the resources we have today. That'd be pretty hard.
I think it's true that you can be a talented person, be able to do a lot of voices, cook well, be very likable, but not made for the workplace. I think I'm talking on behalf of myself.
I was about to say, I think I'm talking about me.
I'm talking about me, and I don't have talent in any of the things he does, but some people just aren't worker bees.
No, yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned something about the dinner though. When he got the $140 dinner, it's like his paycheck or whatever. Mm-hmm. They had to have had takeout from. They've been living there for years. Like they had to have had that shrimp dish before.
You'd think so.
Maybe not, because it seems like he ordered from an expensive restaurant and was going crazy. You know what I mean?
Do you see where they live? A huge fucking mansion in San Francisco.
That's true. What did she do again? I'm spacing. She was.
I always thought she was an architect.
Real
She's
estate?
not. She is an interior decorator, and I don't know what that brings. I don't know what that pulls, but. They're making it seem like, a lawyer, a professional, but to me, I do have an animosity about the logistics of the 1 to 2 latex max that Robin Williams gets to be Mrs. Doubtfire. Mm-hmm. What's our shelf life on that? A week?
Oh, well, it's all just unrealistically. We already said, like, it's really 8 pieces, and they're trying to say it's one mask that wouldn't hang loose off of his face.
They start with like
terrifying.
like a face, like... What do they pull his like eyes around his back, and like that doesn't seem like something you can do yourself, let alone in like a stall of a bathroom.
Yeah, it does seem like none of his changeovers would ever work in a timely fashion. It would take 4.5 hours. We now know, but like it would take at least in movie terms, it would take at least 30 minutes to like do that. Even like that time lapse thing they do, you can tell that took a second.
Yeah, it took a really long time.
That's a great scene. The matchmaker, make me a match.
I love Harvey Fierstein and whoever the other guy is in it. I like their dynamics. It's not a lot. It's just enough. But I really enjoy their rapport. I hope that as far as the characters exist, that when Daniel does get the show as Mrs. Doubtfire, the TV show, I hope that his brother gets to be the makeup artist for it. I hope he throws him a bone, right?
Well, what did Daniel did he ever explain to his brother why he needed this?
I don't think so.
No,
he's
I don't
an
think
accomplice.
He did.
I really don't think he did. That's a good question.
He's an accomplice.
I will say he knew, and we're all in on it, right?
Just one comment off of Daniel's show, though. Let's not forget that this show is also taking down a man's career of decades on the air. He is taking that guy off public access television. Granted, we do see nice at the end. He's still part of the show. He's the nice mailman, but you're taking that from him.
Yeah, he stole the show.
I didn't even notice that was the same guy. Nice, okay.
And he openly stole it while working his shift as he stole it. Well, the guy was
as
probably
a shipper.
in the changing
He
room.
ships him out. That's his whole thing.
And what do I do next after I pack him? You ship him. I like that guy too.
Smart ass.
Yeah, the family had to know that what Uncle Frank does, or
yeah, there's a lot of hints on their part that it seems a lot like some of Dad's characters, and he does have access to this. But you assume your dad's not that batshit crazy.
What was his plan if Uncle Frank wasn't like a prosthetic costume designer guy?
Kill his wife and run with the kids.
Cameron actually suggested it just a second ago. I guess it was murder his family.
If you don't have access to some of these things, Mark, I think that's what happens.
I will say that there's enough material in this. If you've seen the recut like a comedy to a horror movie or a horror movie to comedy on YouTube, this one might actually lend itself to a horror movie.
Oh, this would be
better
so
than
good,
anything.
Yeah.
There's because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what this man's doing.
A scary score behind the trailer. Yeah, you could easily change the whole vibe of this one.
Oh, I did. I just had a whole timeline of I think that the family is relying on Mrs. Doubtfire way too much. He should have never gone to the pool with them, because why the fuck would Mrs. Doubtfire be there?
He's there like their celebrity nanny. You know what I mean? He should just be there after school for like 2 hours. It's real.
What's that, Mark?
Once he gets the job offer, he's like, let's go to dinner with the network guy.
Yeah.
and they end up going to the same place, you have to cancel the one with the family.
Oh.
And
Cancel
just
the family
end up,
one.
End up at the same job, at a job interview. Your wife's going to see that.
Yeah,
and
like
be oh,
he doesn't have to hide walking by each time. He could just be
No.
like, I'm here on business. I'm
I'm here
doing
to-
great.
yeah.
You get to shove it to your wife that's taking away
Yeah.
your visitation. Like, this is a great move.
that's the perfect time to get rid of Mrs. Doubtfire. She's gone.
Yeah, we're done.
Dustin
He could
Moore.
actually quit
Could
at
be
that
crazy.
point.
The weird unveil like a month later. I'm like, our nanny's on TV.
Oh, I did think this though. Think if that was a real TV show that we grew up with, Mrs. Doubtfire on like Iowa public television at 4 p.m. That would be one of the biggest reveals as like adulthood on the internet. It's like, did you guys know that Mrs. Doubtfire was played by a man the entire time?
Oh, 100%.
You'd be like, what? You'd be like, Mandela effect. That would be
Wait.
such a mic drop.
Cameron, so you're saying he accidentally comes back to the network guy at the dinner table, somehow escapes out of there, making both parties happy, and then he just is on the TV
Oh, you say
as
gets
Mrs.
away with it.
Doubtfire?
Yeah. Or I'm just
Like,
saying,
that would be hilarious.
Or I'm just
Like
saying,
that.
if he just at least would have just pitched the show normal, didn't have to make a weird thing of it, and just like he quits his job because now he's on TV.
I
He
don't.
shows
My only guess is that he sold that show because the TV executive was pretty drunk.
Very
at
drunk.
that time. But that is not what they talked about going into it.
No. Well, kind
You
of,
know.
well, it is at the end when he sat down in makeup. He's like, "Why are you dressed like a woman?"
Yeah, I
he had
know.
to have been he had to have been hammered because he saw Mrs. Doubtfire run across, or he saw
Well-
Daniel run across, save a guy, and then was like, "Well, I got to get a cab."
Well,
I'm-
no, biggest
I'm fucking
animosity.
hammered.
Yeah, he
he
might have
saw
been.
Sally Field have a meltdown. He saw like a family fight
Yeah, right.
and a whole thing. So
That is
That's the guy.
there's not
That
a
is
chance.
the
Biggest
guy.
animosity of the entire movie. The most unbelievable thing, even the time changes of the cross dressing and the whole thing is him
Is the
getting
job offer?
yeah, him landing that pitch after a meltdown in that restaurant. That guy was hammered.
Got
Cameron.
hammered.
You don't realize though the executive was in the non-smoking section, the family was in the smoking section, and never the paths shall cross. You know what I mean?
You can
remember
see
back
when
in the
he's
day.
like, "Help is on the way." He goes from table. It's in view.
It does
right
have
in
one
view.
of my favorite non-iconic Robin Williams lines when Sally feeds is like when she has the realization set in, she's like the whole time, and she gets
Yes,
like real.
that part
like,
is great.
That's a
She
great
keeps
line.
changing. Yeah.
Smidle, this is like a minor thing, but animosity, when after the meltdown, when he saves Pierce Brosnan, he's walking away, he shouldn't have said, "Sorry about the pepper." He doesn't know it's pepper related.
Yeah,
he
he
doesn't
doesn't
know
know.
he has
He doesn't know
anything
that was
to
him.
do with it. Don't.
He was about to sue the restaurant.
Yeah, like there's already just a whole bunch of lawsuits coming your way. Maybe don't admit to guilt. He's also very drunk.
Yeah.
He's very drunk. Which, funny enough, comment
I killed
is
the poor
something I
bastard.
just I killed. Is something I didn't pick up on when I was a kid until like a few years ago. Watching, like, oh, he's hammered at this point because he's been drinking. Like, it came out in
Yeah, I didn't-
'93. I was 3. I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, like when she stumbles around, it's just like, oh, he's startled and he's
Yeah, I didn't know.
He's off his game.
So I noticed it the 2 times, and I haven't seen this movie forever. So I noticed it when, as Mrs. Doubtfire, he goes back to his family table and he falls off the chair.
Yeah,
I'm like,
just-
oh, he's drunk here. He's sauced. And then I didn't realize he was drinking at the club pool.
The pool, me either. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's beer. When I was a
oh,
kid,
it's a drive-by fruiting.
fruiting. Oh, let's talk about the Pierce Brosnan character just briefly.
Sure.
When you're younger, you're like, this guy's nothing but bad. He's the
He's
bad
not that
guy.
bad.
He's
No,
not that bad of a guy.
You want him to say something bad about the family at the bar? You think I thought he was
thought he
gonna,
was
I
going
just hadn't
to,
seen
too,
this
yeah.
movie in so long, but
No.
like he's like, oh no, I love the kids. I think they love me. You know, everything's great, and like
He called the ex-husband a loser, which
he is. Trickle
He
down
is a
on
loser.
Verified. They did write Pierce Brosnan as a dickish character, and they did have more conniving plots. But when it was Pierce Brosnan, they're like, it doesn't test well. He's kind of likable, and we don't like this. So they cut all that out to make him a just normal
It's not
guy
like a
trying to date him.
it's the opposite of this sort of happy-go-lucky is like the Parent Trap, where they or
Right.
the unhappy. The Parent Trap, they get together at the end. The ladies are kind of an asshole.
It's more like an evil stepmother, Cruella de Vil. Like that's
Yeah.
normally the way it's played off in these kids'
Right.
movies. And I was expecting to talk about that a lot, but the only thing I think he did wrong is maybe moved in on a divorced lady a little early.
It was a little early, it seems. Yeah.
Oh, Pierce. I thought you were talking about Daniels. The only thing I
Yeah,
think
there's
he did
the
wrong-
only thing I think he did wrong was
Get caught.
I actually don't think of anything not murdering his wife and taking the children.
Yeah. This is just a comment, and for some reason this always stuck with me as a kid. Didn't bother me as much now as an adult, but I always remembered Pierce Brosnan having a really hairy chest and stomach in that pool scene, and it is. But I mean,
No, I thought. Oh, it is. It really
is. But for some reason, as a kid, I imagined it like like Robin Williams hairy, and it's
Cameron, let me see
pretty
your
hairy.
chest.
It's not that hairy. Oh, you can't even see in this light.
Yeah, that's a bald chest
That's
right
not
there.
bald. It's just sparse.
Baby
Mark.
bald.
It's not that hairy.
It's not that hairy.
It's just
I thought you were
adult
about to
man
say that-
hairy.
I thought you were about to say the opposite because that's a hairy man.
He's a very hairy man, but it still stuck with me. It just not as jarring.
I
But
mean,
it's jarring.
This isn't a huge character flaw, but that dive was a little show-offy. I didn't quite like that.
Oh yeah, I mean his whole
I'd
thing's
say
a little,
murder him and the wife.
his whole relationship's a little show offy, Jordan.
Well,
yeah, once you do a
that's true,
triple
but not
pike
true.
into the deep end, I mean, you're a goner.
But that's not just show-offy for your new family you're trying to get out. That's show-offy for the whole club.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, who the fuck do you think you are, bro?
It looked like a lot of kids were in that pool too. It's like
A lot of kids.
So I want to talk about the bus driver. They kind of make it seem like he's like a. They make him to
Perv?
be, yeah, kind of. But he's like, honestly, he's kind of he's not being too pervy. He's just kind of
He
trying to
doesn't
be.
cross the line.
No, he's
I
just
don't
kind of
think
being,
so.
he's kind of just being flirty with an older woman and kind of being nice to her all the time. Where I
Yeah,
kind
he's
of
working the graveyard.
Yeah.
He's just kind of trying to.
that kind of aged differently. Where I kind of just felt bad for that old guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he felt lonely.
Yeah, he's just trying to make a friend, and it turns out it's crazy Robin Williams who's making a weird ploy back at his kids.
And again, this is coming from like the three of us white guys. It's like, he was fine. He's sitting on that broad. He ain't doing that bad. He's all
Doesn't
right.
mind the hairy legs.
He went into
Here's
detail
what I-
how
here-
he's
well, here's what I would say. It seems like he's flirting with that old broad and not hitting on that old broad. You know what I mean?
I think those
She
are
didn't seem in
semantics,
danger.
but yeah.
Immediate danger.
No, she seemed fine. On the other side, though,
Again, three white guys.
yeah, you know.
How many of us are there?
But on the flip side, I didn't realize how problematic the TV exec was when I was a kid. Like getting sauce, be like trying to
lady friend for
me?
Well, it is the
Friend,
90s.
It is the 90s.
Yeah, that part got a little uncomfortable. I will say, like, the one scene that kind of did stick out as like the most ages bad for this movie is when the son finds Robin Williams peeing standing up, and
Let's say
Yeah.
yeah,
Can't
that'll.
say
I
he,
mean,
she.
I will say it is a little weird that like we don't know who this person is in our house anymore, and there is that part that they get to, but they really just focus on the fact that she has a penis, and that's not good.
Hey.
I was curious how this movie was going to age, and I did think it was going to be a little worse, but again, at the time, it felt like it was kind of trying to be progressive with like him having the gay brother, like in. I mean, for
Well,
like a '93
I think Mark used the word when we were talking about this disguise. He is trying to trick them into something else, but it doesn't like bring in any connotation of like sexuality or the way he feels. Like he's dressing up as a woman to disguise himself.
Right.
True.
So it didn't like open up that door to something else.
I don't know. It aged a little better than I thought it was going to, which was a nice surprise for a lot of the movies we've been doing.
Animosity. There's no way, absolutely no way, that Robin Williams would be able to play soccer in Mrs. Doubtfire's shoes.
No, or
Those
just the
heels?
outfit.
No.
Something would slip, a boob would like come loose. Like it's just unrealistic how physical he's being the whole time.
What do you think the timeline is before he got caught by his kids? 2 weeks?
3 days.
3 days.
It was 3 days. They had three whole like household meals. That's it.
He
So
changed
you're
their
saying
life
from-
in a week. He Mary Poppins him, Jordan. It was like an afternoon.
Damn, there are a lot of similarities, too. Just a broken family will latch onto anything. Nothing but red flags. That's true.
Spoonful of sugar.
Animosity. Pierce Brosnan. If you're allergic to pepper, you don't order the spicy jambalaya. You don't
You
go
don't
for
order
a
the
spicy
non-spicy
dish.
jambalaya. It's going to have lots
You
of
don't go
seasoning.
anywhere near the jambalaya.
You have to. I mean, it sucks. It sucks. I mean, I have food restrictions. You just got to live that way. You can't try that though.
Is that all peppers?
He said
Like
I'm
green
allergic to
pepper?
cayenne
Like
pepper.
pepper?
So he
I don't
specifically.
think he said cayenne.
He did.
I think
he just said pepper.
Oh,
And
no,
he got
I'm
cayenne pepper.
almost specific. He said I'm allergic to cayenne pepper, or he said a specific one because I still thought, okay, maybe it's not in the dish, but you don't roll the dice with shit like that. You don't want your throat to close up.
Also, if you're deadly allergic to something, look at your food.
Is it in the kitchen? Yeah, like you get the
Yeah.
the waiter has to say like, oh, well, it is in the kitchen. You might want to go towards the scrambled eggs.
So comment: the older daughter and the son will be okay. They were in on the secret
Oh,
therapy.
I don't know about
therapy.
that.
They'll be able to have normal lives, but the little girl at the end saying, "Daddy," that's scarring for life. She's gonna have problems.
I think
They're all fucked.
I think they're all
all
fucked. I think those middle ones are going to have problems.
Yeah, but not as bad. I'm saying they're gonna be able to live some sort of life.
Is it going to be a red flag when they later on have a family and they're having family holidays and they're like, oh, Dad, where do you got to be? He's like, I'll be right back. And he still comes back as Mrs. Doubtfire? Because it didn't look like they were ready to give up on Miss Doubtfire at all.
Do you want to?
No, they weren't.
Do you want to hear the sequel that they had written out that Robin Williams said no to? They never got a draft that he liked, but they were working on it. the youngest daughter was going to college, and he was going to reprise Mrs. Doubtfire and move into like a house next door to keep eyes on his daughter in college.
And she would have known, though.
Yeah, she would have known it's Mrs. Doubtfire, but no one else. I think he was going to like enroll or something, but Mrs. Doubtfire was going to college.
You know, I think we're all happy that didn't happen.
Yep.
First off, but then I was thinking about this, especially when it came to my recasting for who I picked to play Mrs. Doubtfire. Mm-hmm. There's contemporaries that we'll all get to maybe that could have done it. You know what Robin Williams didn't do? And he did not do a lot of sequels, and I respect that, actually.
No, he sure didn't.
He kind of kept it moving.
He did weird bad movies, but he didn't.
Yeah, he had misses for sure, but who doesn't have misses? But he didn't keep going back to the same well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of comedians do.
Especially like Disney, and if you do something like that, I feel like
Aladdin.
Aladdin 2, he might have been in that.
Well, okay, outside of that, though, Aladdin 2 wasn't too...
outside of getting dragged into Disney.
No, but I'm saying Aladdin 2 probably wasn't in... I don't even know if he did do it again, and I think Aladdin 2 was straight to VHS. Oh, but he would go to jail, right?
Oh, he's 100% serving some sort of jail time.
That's not good.
I'm not exactly sure for just for like violating his and violating like his parole or not parole, his visitation
restraining order. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he's going to jail. He's going. Should we move it on to recasting? Welcome back to recasting. What's one of the lower people you got on the list, guys?
I went stupid deep for this one, and I don't know why. I've got everybody I think that's on screen and like has a speaking role.
The lowest one I have is Lundy. Did you do Lundy?
Who's Lundy?
Who's Lundy?
Oh, the TV executive?
Driver?
Oh, yeah, the TV guy with, do you have a lady friend for me?
I do. But mine's solely based off the fact that in this viewing, I realized that they put down like 4 glasses of scotch.
Sure.
I'm doing the stand-up comedian Ron White.
Oh, okay, that works for me. He's known for drinking scotch.
That's it.
I did Gene Hackman. It just seems like he'd also like a cigar and a scotch. I don't know.
I like Mark's. I don't know that actor's name, but he definitely...
Mark, who are you doing?
I like Gene Hackman.
Emmett Walsh.
Oh, okay. Jordan, do you have anyone lower than Stu?
I did the social worker.
I did not. Who'd you have for the social worker?
I got Maggie Smith.
Oh, yeah, that works for me.
I don't have her, and that's who I was thinking of scrambling. So that's a good pick.
I like that. I got the brother.
I did not do the brother.
I did the brother.
I did Nathan Lang.
Okay.
Just a lateral move.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, sure. Mark, who'd you have?
I did Thomas Lennon, which is Officer Dangle, and the boyfriend is Roger Bart, the guy from the producers who's like, yeah.
Nice.
Damn, I didn't do an Aunt Jack. Damn it.
Who else you guys have?
Then I kind of went like through the kids, and
I got the kids, I got the boyfriend, I got the mom, the dad.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Stu, the boyfriend. I've been trying forever, Jordan. I think it's time. John Hamm.
All right, I was gonna write that down because I'm like, this makes sense. I'll see if Cameron does it. So.
He's kind of funny. He's not really much of a dickish, but we could lean into that more for him. But
I feel like with him, you would lean into being a dick more, correct?
A little more, yeah. But I think it could be funny if it was aloof, kind of dickish too, somewhat. I feel like that'd be his thing.
So that's not bad. Definitely good looking guy, but like.
You have an ace in the hole, Jordan, or do you want me to
go? You can go. I don't have a great one.
Hugh Grant.
Ooh, that'd be pretty good.
Lateral move.
So I went to someone who, after I rewatch this, not that bad of a guy. I went George Clooney.
Okay. That could also
goofy
work.
dad, little whatever.
I just watched Oh Brother, We're Out There too. He's funny. He can be fun.
Fairly lateral moves from all of us.
How about one? I'll give you one that I thought of that isn't lateral, but I'm like, what about Clive Owen?
Yeah? Oh, yeah, that could work for me. I mean, at the time he'd be too young, but now it'd be good. Yeah, that works.
Sure. All right, that's it.
Let's move on to the kids. Who'd you do for Natalie, the youngest? I'm doing Abigail Breslin, but I'm doing her from Signs when she's that young.
I'm doing Abigail Breslin from Little Miss Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine? That's fine too.
I'm doing McKenna Grace. She's in that new Ghostbusters movie. She's the kid. Okay. But she did younger acting, and she's in this like I'm a Smart Kid movie, like Little Boy Tate, only of this generation.
Way to get off Abigail Breslin.
I definitely looked at her.
I almost kind of wanted all this. We've never done that before. We've all just had the same one.
The same one? Never have.
It's going to happen.
Who do we do for Chris, the brother? I did Trevor Morgan. He's the kid from Genius and Patriot. Aim Small, Miss Small.
Nice. Oh, yes. I like that one.
I kept it in the Cult Classic Podcast family. I did Devon Sawa.
Okay.
Kind of,
That's perfect for me. Mark,
I
who'd you do?
did Eric Von Detten from Brink.
I
Kept it in the
definitely thought
Disney
about
family.
that.
Kudos to you. You've brought him up the most, and just
I
let's
totally
get
thought
him
of
in.
that. I just didn't know his name.
Yeah.
Topping off with Lydia, the older daughter. I did it someone who I don't think it'd be good, but I could see her being annoyed, shaking her head a lot, and her parents are divorced. Kristen Stewart.
She
was
definitely.
She was a teen
Jordan is
actress.
silently shaking his head. And
I think she would kill ruining this role.
Yeah, she might do well in that. Dang.
I did
and she was
Kimberly J.
a-
Brown from Halloween Town.
Okay,
Is she the main one?
Yeah.
I assume, right?
that works for me.
She could have been the little. Yeah. Anyway.
Again, wouldn't have been great. Just shaking her
I
head.
did just a girl from like my childhood films. I did Christina Ricci.
I thought you were going to say from my childhood. Just
No, like from movies of
Kimberly
my era.
Mormon.
I did Christina Ricci, so I thought, you know.
All right. Who do we do for Miranda? I like mine.
I like mine too.
Leslie Mann.
Oh, I get it.
That could work.
I don't want to
George
see her
the Jungle Leslie Mann, right?
Yeah, naturally. I don't want to hate her as much as I hated her in this, but I could see her playing it.
I went with another mom, very mom. Sorry, I don't mean to keep it. You want to go, Jordan?
No, well, I just want, because normally yours are better than mine. I don't want to like hear your good one and then like say mine. Everyone's like, oh, well,
know
thanks
if
for
mine's
showing
that
up.
great, but-
All right, I'm just gonna go get it out of the way. Reese Witherspoon,
I could see that.
That works too.
just a Type A personality.
See her character in Four Christmases.
We all went blondies. I went Bonnie Hunt.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I like Bonnie Hunt more actually.
Yeah, and we never put her in stuff. I'm
And
going to
she'd
give it
be
to
like
Bonnie
funny.
Hunt. Yeah. Now, the real question, who's replacing Robin Williams as Daniel?
And you can't, but you know.
I actually think this one's pretty good. I think we've done it before, but Steve Carell, also small, also hairy, does a lot of serious stuff.
I
Does
lived
good
Steve
serious
Carell
stuff.
too. But I'll go with my second one just to not be chalk with you. I'll do Steve Martin.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that.
I think you've done Steve Martin for Robin Williams before, and I like that.
And I'm realizing now this is just cheaper by the dozen. Bonnie Hunt and Steve Martin.
I actually really stand by mine. I don't think people like it. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman would kill this role. And if you want to make it dramatic and scarier
Yeah.
where he does kill his family, I really like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He doesn't need to be like that kind of kooky voice actor and like so goofy like Robin Williams. So like,
No.
I like these ones.
I mean, the
That we've
character
come up
work,
with.
this could easily be a Jim Carrey movie, too.
So we
yeah,
all
if we
avoided
wanted-
the people that did this. Like Jim Carrey would be one. I'm surprised nobody. Is it just because it wouldn't have worked? Mike Myers.
No, I did think Mike Myers because of the character work. It would be
Yeah, I did
Scottish
not think of
instead.
him, but
Yeah, it would have just been. It would have
It
sounded.
would have been the Scottish.
funny
name
enough,
instead.
Cameron. Like people like
Eddie
people were
Murphy.
saying-
Do you want to hear the list of what ifs? The only one for Natalie, I saw Blake Lively was originally considered
saw
for the
that.
role as a very
Interesting.
young Blake
Yeah.
Lively. There is a huge list, so I'm just going to run through this and we'll talk about it after. But Tim Allen was up for the role. And he
That's
was
like who
actually-
they wrote the role for in mind. I think.
But he was up for either Daniel or Stu. He was either or, but they wanted him a part of it. And now I'm just going to go through a huge list of potential people they wanted but could not get. Bryan Cranston, Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, Tom
Sorry,
Hanks.
Where are these? These are all for Daniel, or
They're all
kind of
for
could be anywhere.
They're all for Daniel
Slash Miss Doubtfire.
slash Miss Doubtfire. Rick Moranis, Bill Murray, Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Steve Martin, Kevin Kline, Bill Paxton, Martin Short, John Candy, John Goodman, Jeff Bridges, Kurt Russell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chevy Chase, Michael J.
Schwarzenegger.
Fox, I'm going to do it every time. Kevin Bacon, Jerry Seinfeld, Jason Alexander, Daniel Stern, Billy Crystal, Charles Grodin, Dennis Quaid, John Travolta,
Charles Grodin.
Bill Pullman, John Ritter, Richard Gere, Robert De Niro, Jeff Daniels.
I'll tell you
Dan
right now,
Aykroyd.
Charles Grodin would not have taken the role. He was too busy doing Beethoven.
I could have seen it. Bruce Willis, Roy Atkinson, Jim Carrey, Tom Cruise, Gilbert Godfrey, George Clooney, Kevin Costner, Sean Penn were all considered for the role. Huge list.
So
Biggest
the
we've
one
ever
I
had.
heard on there that it's like Jerry Seinfeld can't do that.
Yeah,
That's the one I'm like.
There were a
there's
couple
a lot
weird-
of like
Robert De Niro, that'd be a weird one.
Bill Pullman would be a sneaky good like
Dad?
boyfriend.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that could actually work. Yeah. Should we move it on to Mount Rushmore? Top 4? Mount Rushmore. Top 4. Mount Rushmore, top 4. Mark gets to go first this week. This week we are doing Master of Disguise. Not specifically cross-dressing disguises, but my list does lean into that. Mark, what'd you do?
I liked this movie when I saw it in, I feel like it was high school. But I'm gonna go She's the Man with Amanda Bynes.
Nice. That's definitely on my list, and I was hoping someone would get there before me.
Definitely an honorable mention.
I'm pretty sure Channing Tatum and David Cross are in this movie, and David Cross has a couple sneaky funny moments. I still call genitalia Willis and Doodleberries because of him.
Obviously, Mrs. Doubtfire is like probably top of the list. So if you guys, if either you pick that, you're chalk.
I did not pick that. I thought it was off the table, but it would be high on the list.
It should be off the table.
I'm throwing a heavy hitter animated movie out there. I'm throwing out Mulan.
Let's get down to business. That was gonna maybe be mine.
That's a great one. Also, Fierstein's in that.
The Hunt. Yeah,
yeah, sure is. Nice.
If we get down to that, we'll do the trifecta. It's funny. I heard him on an interview recently because he came out with a memoir. And he's like, all I'm going to be remembered for is being in that Doubtfire movie. And I'm like, you know what? You're not super wrong from me. But I'm like, what about Independence Day?
I would have said Independence Day, yeah.
Yeah, but he's going to say, like, I was in the forefront of, like, doing drag and putting it mainstream, and I did Hairspray, and I'm a big Broadway person. I'm like...
Listen to the way you're saying that. That's 100% his point.
Yeah. He's not wrong, though. Anyway, shout out to... maybe we'll get the trifecta done. Okay, I respect both of your choices quite a bit. I'm going to throw it back to one of the originals. I'm going to do the 1959 classic, Some Like It Hot, starring Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon, directed by Billy Wilder. It's an automatic classic. What's awesome about that movie is there's so many classic movies that don't play like a modern comedy. That one has modern day timing. It's crazy impressive that a movie that old kind of plays
I've actually
modern.
never seen it, but that was number one on all the lists when I was just doing some light research for this. So I'm definitely going to check it out soon.
I would assume that many people would include Tootsie.
I was going to throw Tootsie in there just to kind of get an older one, and also...
It's not my favorite.
It's funny. It's good. I'm going to throw out Birdcage. That's a fun one. You have
it's
a lot of not good ones, like White Girls.
I was going to say White Chicks.
White Chicks, that's what I meant.
White Chicks.
That gets...
Joanna Man. Yeah, there's a lot of bad examples.
I'm going to throw out
Big
a Disney made-for-TV movie that I watched with Mark a couple months ago, Motocrossed.
Motocross, nice. Out of all those, Miss Doubtfire is just top of the list for me.
I'm going to put Mulan, my choice, as the number 2.
That's a sneaky one. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I did think about Mulan, and if you didn't take it, I might have took it. But I also thought of Mark's, because that was like our day and age, you know.
That was my number 1, actually. It kind of went down the line, except for you took just the classic instead. Thanks for listening to our take on Mrs. Doubtfire. If you like what you heard, make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you want to help support the station, you can get premium content by going to patreon.com/cultclassicspod. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll check you on this or one of the other podcasts. Bye.